I told you. I told you. I told you. I told you. I had to tell you. And then I told you. Right next, you know where the place to be is if you want to get the shit right on Monday Night Football. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, AG, but like this is so gratifying. Like it was wild for everybody but us. The only thing that was wild for us that we were like, this is exactly what we said was going to happen.
You're coming in and out with me right now, so I don't know what you said at the very end, but yeah, I mean, the best part about tonight was that we all made money as a group collectively. Anybody who watched the show and trusted in you like we did made some money. So that Seattle Seahawks, I mean, they won outright, so you had them at least covering. So, but as you said, throw a little pizza money, like John Ryan would say, on the money line. So we ended up all cashing out. A couple of us cashed out on the under as well. Thanks to, I think John Ryan called that one, right? And then, so shout out to John. Shout out to you. Now, here's the best part. Obviously, we're not the only ones in the world, or you're not the only one in the world that had an angle on the Seahawks. Other people put out some angles. Obviously, it was a solid value underdog at home, the 12th man. Everybody, kind of considered those factors. Well, I wouldn't say everybody. A lot of people bet with their emotions and would throw down on the Broncos heavy. I had a bet in since August on the Broncos to win by 6. But I threw that in early because I knew the line was going to probably move up a little bit. It ended up being 6.5 closing. So, it did move up by a point. So I was hoping on them to win by exactly 6 because I had 6 sandwiched with my bet from tonight that you told me to put down.
You out because
exactly. You didn't want to sweat that out.
I didn't want to have to sweat that.
Exactly. But my point is, you came with that video on Friday that actually had some, some evidence-based facts behind it.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest here, as you said to open up the show, it was a crazy game for everybody, but we were kind of expecting all of that to happen. We knew that there was a chance they would become the first team since 1987 or whatever they said that fumbled twice from the 1-yard line. You know what I mean? We knew that there was potential for crazy, wacky things like that to happen, and it's because those other games were very similar, and that's why you called this one. And so I want to get into that about like how you actually use this theory and it panned out, and you weren't just putting money behind the team because of their talent or things like that. You were just like, yo, this is a setup by the books right here to for the Broncos to cover, and apparently even for the Broncos to win.
Yeah, and so I don't look. I'll be perfectly honest. It's a lot for me to like try to wrap my head around. Like, what does this actually mean? Because is it just that there's something in the atmosphere that makes this weird shit happen, or is there something going on where, like, I mean, you were talking the other day, like Joe Burrow shaving points confirmed because
oh man, he was terrible. But I mean, he was terrible, and then the kickers too, they followed up. So something's going on there.
So I don't know if it's something like that, and I don't want to like. I want to try to be somewhat careful, and I don't want to like say that I promise you and I have evidence that that the Big Mike Raider said he thought about the video the whole time he watched the game. See, that's you already know, man. If you were here and you watched it, you know the deal. But so I don't know how to explain like why. Okay, that's the part for me where I'm like I'm not going to tell you. Okay, I know why, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, like in terms of like what fluke plays were going to happen.
Right.
It just seems like there's a tendency for these things to have this weird shit happen to the favorite on the road in a game like that. And yeah, there's all those other things. There's all those football reasons, all those emotional reasons that it can be attributed to. But it just seems bizarre to me that as we laid out in all of those different scenarios that led up to this one, where I kind of called my shot, like this is what I think is going to happen. And I don't want to necessarily say like, look how great I am or anything like that. This isn't about that. This is more about saying like, look, we as a group of people looking at this stuff, now that we kind of have this knowledge, we can look at games and kind of look for some of these setups and look for some of these traps, because I think there are a lot of people who probably, and especially if you watch like the pregame stuff, it was all Russell Wilson interviews. It was all stuff about Russell Wilson and all this stuff about him coming back and how good Denver is, and they have a lot of talent, and how little was expected of this Seahawks team because they already have they already have some injuries. They've lost some guys either to retirement or free agency recently, and obviously Russell Wilson, chief among them. But Geno Smith in like his 10th season, like finally getting an opening night start for the first time in 8 years. All of these things added up to everybody who was looking at this from like an emotional standpoint probably thought, you know what, there's no way that the Broncos aren't going to win this game, and that 6.5 point spread, Vegas must know something, so I'm gonna bet that. And I was just alerting people like, hey, be careful. That's a lot of points for that atmosphere, that game, and with this setup. And here are some other scenarios that have lined up that looked very similar. So there's that, but then there's also this thing. I can't say that there's not some funny business going on, because there's some weird ass shit that seems to happen. Like, how you fumbled twice on the 1 yard line.
Well, there's that, and then that even that first down they gave him was questionable, which I mean, it built suspense, even though they didn't end up making the field goal anyway. It built suspense.
If they hadn't gotten that though, then they may have punted, and then you have a whole different type of situation go down. It going down the way that it did, it was like, even to the very end, I think everybody expected Russell Wilson was going to pull this one out.
Right.
He was going to find a way to pull it out. And I told y'all, like, I wouldn't have been surprised either, because that's how a lot of those other games went. Like that Dallas game was nuts. To go for 2 to tie and fail on the 2-point conversion, and then kick an onside kick and get it, and then go throw a first down pass, and the guy actually drops it. It goes through his hands, and they call it complete at first, and then another referee comes in and overrules it and calls it incomplete, and there's like 8 seconds left. They complete a pass just in range to get the field goal, and they kick a field goal at the horn to win it.
Yep.
So it wouldn't have been surprising for McManus to hit this field goal. Huge leg. It's he's hit 60+ yarders before, so it wouldn't have been surprising.
I agree.
By no shocked that he shanked it and that they ended up losing the game. That's why I sprinkled a little that pizza money on the side. Yeah, that's right. They had 3 timeouts and they just let the clock run down and settled for a 64-yard field goal. What?
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing?
Exactly. We were talking about it in the chat. I'm like, why no timeout? I mean, look, if you already have your mind set on going for the field goal, then it obviously makes sense to run the clock down. But my thing is, I mean, you have 3 timeouts. It's a 4th and 5. You've been getting third downs left and right the last 7-8 minutes. You know what I mean? They were driving. I mean, until they get to the goal line, at least they were converting all those third downs on easy little dump off passes. It's a 4th and 5. I mean, you have plays ready for that situation, and to go for that and settle for that, like Big Mike Rader said. I mean, I didn't understand it either. If he made it, it's a great call. You know what I mean? And if they go for it on 4th and they don't get it, then they're questioning that too. So it's not like there's a win there unless you actually win the game. You know what I mean? But we all cashed out at the end of the day, so that was cool.
Tyler's right. Like when he missed the first one and they had called a timeout, I was like, oh man, they let the bail out. But yeah, it was so the takeaway again for me is like you can see this stuff coming if you're paying attention to the right things.
Yep.
So if you're looking for, okay, so what we got is we have an incredible atmosphere that you should expect. So let's remember, this is the first time in the history of the franchise that the Seahawks have hosted Monday Night Football to open the season. First time in the history of the franchise. So we know what opening day is for whatever sport. It doesn't matter. Opening night for the NBA, opening day baseball, opening weekend for the NFL. People have been itching and scratching. They've been talking about football since April. And
especially opening weekend for Dallas Cowboys fans, because that's the only week they get to actually like enjoy and have some faith and whatnot. You know what I mean? And then that just gets shot right in the foot.
Right.
I just had to sneak that in there.
Yeah, man. Okay. Yeah. So it's a big deal. Opening weekend is a big deal, and so there's already that hype, right? then like it's a home game, and you haven't hosted, and it's Monday Night Football, and you haven't hosted Monday Night Football to open like ever. So like you don't even know what to expect. And then Russell Wilson's coming back after he left you, standing at the altar. And dude, did you hear? Like they were relentless. They booed him the entire game. They were like, "Fuck you. We don't care about Super Bowls. You left. We hate you now." You know what I mean? It was wild. So like, and that's kind of what I expected. Like you're gonna have that. So you've got so that's one of the excuses, right? That's an excuse for, okay, well, we can blame it on the 12th man and the atmosphere with all those reasons I described. Then the other thing there's always going to be football explanations like, oh, well, Geno Smith was just really poised tonight. Oh, all right. Really? Geno Smith Geno Smith looked like fucking Joe Montana tonight. And that's saying a lot because I couldn't stand Joe Montana. I was a big Dan Marino fan, so I couldn't stand because
listen, 17 for 18, 164 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, they got enough done to still win it in the second half, but that first half was amazing football. You know what I mean?
Even after he didn't play that well in the second half compared to what he did in the first half, he still was like, I have to look it up. But I think they showed he was like 22 for 27. He still had a really good line. What's up, Wasted? Shout out in the building. Oh, you at the same time I did. But yeah, so like you have some of those football explanations that are reasonable, and everybody I can see how, but there just seems to be something different, and that's why I set up that episode on Friday, was to tell people, and Wasted knows because he and I talked about this last year, that like I wanted to do this show where I went through those games and said like, look, this is a setup. You're being set up. The spread is too big for the road team. That's too big of a home dog. You don't understand what that whole atmosphere is going to be like. You don't understand what kind of other weird bullshit is going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, don't be surprised if the dog gets out to an early lead and some weird bullshit happens to make it to where if the road team, the favorite, covers, they cover last minute, and it looks like, oh, well, the better team won, and so they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, and they had that championship moxie or whatever kind of BS explanation they're going to have. But what it is it's a way better explanation for Vegas than having Seattle score a late touchdown to get under 6.5.
Yeah, that's true. The backdoor cover.
Backdoor cover pisses everybody off, and then that's when everybody points at Vegas and says Vegas is rigged. Nobody points at Vegas because Vegas is rigging this shit when the dog gets out to a 2-touchdown lead or something like that in the first half, and then the favorite comes back and wins anyway, but they just don't cover. People are just like, damn, man, if they had just played better in the first half, I know I would have won that bet. I knew I was right. They're a way better team, like that kind of you justify this shit for yourself when you're a betting man. When it happens this way, it's like, oh damn, man, like now I just hope they win. If you pick the money line,
Exactly. And what makes this even better, the fact that the Seahawks pulled this off just now, is that all week, well, I say all week, but all day yesterday on Sunday, right, the home favorites weren't having a good time. It was I mean the away favorites, I meant the road favorites. They weren't having a good time. The Bears beat the Niners. There was other examples. What else happened throughout the day? I forget. There's a few.
I didn't have the Bears in my parlay, but my parlay was the Falcons. I didn't like that because I'm a Saints fan growing up. I don't like whichever teams are going in that division going on the road. He said he's glad Russell Wilson lost. I feel you. Well, y'all got to be happy that the Broncos lost too, because right now it's
that's true.
Y'all have been in all alone in last place in the West. I don't want to rub salt in the wounds. I know it's been a rough weekend for Raider Nation.
The Chargers are going to be very good, I feel like. I mean, Justin Herbert's going to be very good. I was just listening to Raider Nation earlier, and he was admitting, Justin Herbert's a dog. He was saying how he wishes the Raiders traded up and got him. So I mean, Obviously I would agree there. He's a dog, but
Yeah.
I think the Raiders will be fine though because they played a good game. They fought at the end.
Right. So the rest, let me pull it up. So the rest of that parlay that was, I put the wrong thing. It was the Falcons plus 5.5 at home against New Orleans because, like I've said before, never a huge fan of the road team being like that big of a dog in a division game where the home team being that big of a dog where it's a division game to open the season, especially in a place in a dome like that and I've seen New Orleans and Atlanta do this before. I thought the Saints were going to lose yesterday, to be perfectly honest. Like I was kind of surprised that they pulled it off. And I think I'm in the wrong. Oh no, here it is. No, man. Yeah, I think it's in my other. So I have a bet MGM, and it was Falcons plus 5.5. I actually got Vikings plus 1.5. This was earlier before because I think
before it flipped. I got that too.
Yep. The favorite, and then I had this one tonight. That's what it was. I was like, I could have sworn it was all underdogs that I picked, and then I was like, but the Vikings was one of them, so I had to look it up to make sure I wasn't out of my mind. But yes, it was those three that I really liked as home dogs. But this was the one that set up to fit the narrative from the previous stuff that I've talked about from back in like 06, 07, 08. And I haven't really, because I took a long break from betting on this stuff, I wasn't watching it. I wasn't paying attention like I had been.
Oh, I remember the other one. The other example I was thinking of, there was two other examples I was thinking of. The Steelers.
Yeah.
They came out and won as a road, or they were a road dog actually.
They were a road dog.
The Colts. That's what the Colts were.
Colts and the Texans.
They were a road favorite, and the Texans played them well. The Texans should have won that game. They lost it at the end, but they covered though. They covered.
They didn't lose. They tied.
Well, that's what I meant. They lost the money line bet if you were a money line.
The bet lost. Yeah, the bet lost.
But they covered.
Right, they covered. Right, so, but I didn't have that one in a spread parlay. I had that in a money line parlay, so it didn't help me.
Right.
But yeah, so it's just I'm here to gloat. Like I called this shit 3 days ago, 4 days ago, whatever it was, and Wasted knows I called this last year. We talked about we were gonna do something like this, and it's one of those things where like trying to organize and getting the clips together to be able to show because I wanted to show people the evidence so that I wasn't just talking out of my ass. And so anyway, this is
well, as soon as the highlights come out for this one, add that to the playlist that we have now, and we'll keep adding them throughout the season when we see it.
I'm gonna drop a DJ. I'm gonna put DJ Khaled on the thumbnail. I'm gonna change the thumbnail up for this one. I'm gonna just drop another one. But yeah, it was wild. Like we said, it was wild for everyone but us because as it was happening, we were like, well, yeah, of course, they fumbled twice on
the right. Who didn't expect that? Like, come on, we called it on Friday. Like, what
I told y'all. So it's just the only thing that worried me was like if they had scored a touchdown too early and then they'd have had to go for two to try to, then I would have been sweating that 2-point conversion and praying that they wouldn't get it.
Well, that's what I wanted because I took the Broncos live at -2.5. I didn't put a lot of money. It was already winnings, you know what I mean, from that bet I hit with Jerry Judy. So I was like, whatever, I'll reinvest a little bit. And then I was hoping it was a touchdown, no conversion, so both bets hit. I should have sent you the new one with where the money is green. It's always better in green, but it's all good. That one hit. You see it. He ended up getting over 100. But
yours.
My bad, Chad. You're cutting out. Were you saying something? You were cutting out.
So tell us why you made that bet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So speaking of using the media or using the the situational awareness of like what's going on really to make some calls is I happened to get home from work one night and I flipped the TV on and it was a Broncos preseason game. I think it was the Broncos Bills preseason game. And I just turned it on. It was on in the background while I was doing whatever. And I ended up hearing them interviewing one of the Broncos players on the sidelines, and it was a defensive back. So the defensive back is who Jerry Judy's going up in practice against every day, pretty much, at least on some plays and whatnot. And they asked him, they said, out of in your time here, like who's the best returning player that you guys have? Like who made the most improvements during the offseason? And
Mhm.
without hesitation, he said Jerry Jeudy immediately. So ever since that day, I had it marked in my calendar. First Broncos game, throw down on Jerry Jeudy because he's been the best performer. And obviously it's not like I'm not guaranteeing he has a great day. There was hype surrounding other players like CD Lamb and whatnot who didn't have a great day. But I took that as, all right, Jerry Judy's ready to rock this season, so he might have a
Right,
breakout game. And so
right.
I put down on that. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. One touchdown, 80 yards. It's, I'm not asking for a whole lot. And it was a free $50 bet. I said, why not? Why not use the free $50 bet they gave me yesterday? So, that's just where if you just pay attention to the media, sometimes they give you little clues like that. It's like everybody says, oh, you probably just have a friend in Vegas that knows like so-and-so's girlfriend broke up with him the night before. And now, he's all sad, or he was in a fight last night, this and that, whatever, out at the bar. They have little inside information. And to me, that was some inside information that they gave out. They basically said, hey, Jerry Judy's coming to play this season, and this is the first game. Why not take a chance on him? Especially with the free bet. Like you said earlier, or I think it was on the show with John Ryan over the weekend, where I think you were like, hey, I'll put someone else's money on that bet any day of the week.
So mad. I was so mad. So I saw a lot of shit coming, and I almost made a lot of money this weekend. I had a free $5 bet, and I had the Appalachian State money line, Houston, Baylor, who else? Pitt, and somebody else. I can't remember who the other. Oh, Iowa State.
Yeah.
All of those games, the underdog won, or the game went to overtime. The 3 games that went to overtime, all 3 of those teams lost in overtime. And I was just like, man, so I got greedy. What I should have done was I should have not tried to make quite as much money. I should have just done the spread. Well, the only thing is though, I got fucked over on the spread on a couple of them too, because it went into overtime and then they lost by more than the spread in overtime. And I just think it's really frustrating to lose a bet on, a spread bet in overtime, because technically the game ended in a tie, and, whoever wins in the overtime, it's such a bullshit setup. They didn't actually earn those points. You get set up at the 25-yard line. Like, you can kick a field goal if you just kneel the ball for the first few plays,
Yeah.
It's just kind of a stupid setup. Like, I'd hate to lose an over bet, like bet the under and lose an over-under bet on fucking overtime.
Yeah. Well, now by the third overtime, it's just a 2-point conversion. So that kind of saves some overs at times in that case, but I kind of don't like that either.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would both go to triple overtime, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm good. I cannot lose, because the worst that can happen is they lose by 2, and it's an automatic cover, because none of them were more than or fewer than 3 points. So, but no, it was. I think Baylor lost by a touchdown to BYU, but it was in overtime. And then Houston, I think, lost by a touchdown in overtime as well. And Tennessee beat Pitt in overtime.
Speaking of Houston, I had that actually saved me. The third overtime saved me in week 1 with Houston and UTSA. I had UTSA by 4.5, or UTSA covering plus the points 4.5. And they went to the third overtime, and Houston ended up getting the 2-point conversion. They didn't, so they only won by 2. If they would have scored a touchdown, then you're looking at 4th and 10 from 15 yards to go to the goal line, and you're down a touchdown. Now you're like, fuck, you know what I mean? Because they won't cover if they don't get that 4th down conversion, if they don't score points, because they're not going to kick field goal to cover now in overtime. So third overtime, it saved me in that case with the 2-point conversion.
Big Mike Raider,
it could definitely go the other way.
Yeah, Big Mike Raider, you got to tell me where this game is. That's going to tell me a lot about what I think about that game. Because
true,
I think NC State's a quality team this year, and Texas Tech coming off an overtime win. I'm not sure. 10.5-point dogs, if they're playing out there in, what is that? They're in Lubbock. Is that where? Which one of them's in Waco? I can't remember. Anyway, trying to think which one's.
It's in Carolina.
No, it is in Raleigh.
Yeah, it's in Carolina.
If it's in Raleigh, I kind of like NC State to 10-point 10.5 point cover. I don't know about the upset though. Like, I mean that's an interesting. I think it's probably worth it because your money line is going to be like 400 or 500, huh?
Hey, you know what though? Big Mike Rader, tune in.
Something like that, huh?
Big Mike Rader, tune in later in the week. We're probably gonna get John Ryan on again, so we'll ask John Ryan to run some models on that game and get you an answer on that. Because I mean I haven't looked into it, so I don't want to just BS a way into it. But we'll put that on the slate. We'll put that on the slate for the show when we do it later in the week. For sure.
Man, I was so mad because that $5 free bet, I would have won $1,400 on that one bet.
Would have been smooth.
And the thing is, like, it'd be one thing. Like, I wouldn't be salty if Pitt got blown out. You know, one of the games gets blown out. It's like, yeah, dumbass, like you picked a terrible team. But like all three of those games went to overtime. That's the only ones I lost.
Yeah.
All went to overtime, and I picked the one that I picked. Here's the stupidest part is, I did not pick Appalachian State in anything but parlays, and everything else but Appalachian State killed my parlays, and that was by far the biggest dog.
That was by far the one you were most confident in too. I feel like. I mean, at least to cover for sure. You were all over it, and I agreed. I took that too. So I took him to cover, but I never took the money line.
And the reason why I was like, I wasn't like I was kind of gung ho about it, but at the same time I was a little bit nervous about it because I knew my emotions were playing in there because I fucking hate Texas A&M. They're such. I'm an LSU fan, and like we've been dealing with their shit for forever. And when they joined the SEC, it was just like taken to another level. And like we have a joke, we call them. I said this on John's show on Saturday morning. We call them Texas 8-4 because all they're good for is to fuck up somebody else's season and then like still go 8-4. They'll find a way. Johnny Manziel doesn't matter. They're going to lose 3, 4, 5 games until whatever the case may be. So I was worried that maybe my hatred for Texas A&M was shining through in that pick. And then I did the opposite with Alabama. I went heavy. I went hard, like picking Alabama to win, like at multiple points. I just kept throwing more money at it. And I was like, I did everything John tells us not to do. Chase it, don't chase it. If you got an L, just take that L and walk away.
Well,
yes. Don't magnify the L, because then you're carrying around this big ass lead L on your back the whole rest of the week. So anyway, that was really frustrating. And the crazy part about it is, like, I should have been rooting against Alabama anyway, and I was pulling for Texas at the end of that game, because at that point my 21.5, my 7.5, my 2.5, none of that shit was going to play. So I was like, fuck yeah, make this field goal, beat Saban's ass. I hate Saban.
Right, at that point, might as well.
Look, we're still salty over here in Baton Rouge with Saban. Like, it, motherfucker leaves. He has to go try to take a pro job and leave LSU right after we win a national championship. Like the year after that, he coaches one more season, and like before the bowl game, he's already on his way out. And then he falls flat on his face just in time for Alabama to need a new coach. And then it's been like watching your favorite girlfriend from forever, your worst enemy for the rest of your life. It's terrible. It's the worst thing ever. Like, seriously, it's like your sworn enemy, and like you get to watch your coach go like destroy you with them for the rest of
destroy the whole league. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, if he hadn't left and gone to Miami, LSU would be what Alabama is right now.
I believe it.
That's what's frustrating.
It would make sense.
No, because go look at their talent. Like, about 40% of the people who are good and who go to the NFL are from Louisiana. That roster is built. It's a bunch. It's a bunch.
What'd you say? What percent?
I said 40. I would.
That's got to be high.
It's close. It's close, bro. Derrick Henry.
Bro, 40%. That's a high number, dude. I'll give you like 10.
I'm talking about NFL level talent.
No, I know. I'm saying like legit
Yeah,
players in the league.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's gotten like I can't remember the left tackle who is in the NFL now. He got from West Monroe, Derrick Henry, Dylan Moses, Landon Johnson, like all is that his name? Landon Johnson? Well, it was a DB. He was a safety. Played for the Giants. Landon Collins. That's it. Landon
Danny
Collins.
Collins.
Not
Yeah.
Landon Johnson. Anyway, Landon Collins. Like all these dudes. What's his face? They just pulled fucking Eli Ricks. What's up, Cassius Cam? By the way,
Shout out to Cassius Cam.
I'm putting your article together this week. I might need to hit you up for a little update, but I'm putting your article together this week. I got a fire article. Well, poor choice of words, but maybe Cassius Cam. But Cassius Cam has been out there fighting fires for a while now, and we had an amazing interview when I came back from Maine last week, and anyway, I did an interview with Maj right after that, and so I kind of jumped the Maj one ahead of that because there was some newsworthy stuff that made it work. But okay, all right, got you. Yeah, 10:00 tomorrow night. All right, my time anyway. Okay, cool. But yeah, so there's tons of talent. My point is that what Nick Saban did was he built these relationships with coaches in Louisiana because he was here.
100%.
He was here from
100%.
99 to 04, and then when he left, those coaches remained loyal to him. And Les Miles had to earn and still kept losing people to Saban.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Back. And then Ogeron actually won some of those people back because he was a Louisiana guy. A lot of the people in Louisiana hated Les Miles. A lot of the coaches didn't like him. They had a lot more respect for Nick Saban for obvious reasons. And so yeah, it's been frustrating. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that too much. But yeah, so I was betting in that case against my heart.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I
should have been betting against Alabama because I hate them, but I hate Texas too. So it's like,
yeah, I did the same thing though. The whole time, my gut all week, I was like, I don't think Alabama's covering 3 touchdowns. I was like, that seems a little high in Texas. Whatever the case is.
Yeah,
and the whole week I just stayed away because I was like, at the same time, Bama could just beat the brakes off this team. You know what I mean? Any given Saturday that can happen. So I got cold feet and I didn't take it. Halfway through the game, I'm at work looking at the score. I'm like, damn, I should have did it. You know what I mean?
I was waiting for it to happen the whole time. I was waiting for the dam to burst, especially when Quinn Ewers got hurt in the first half. I was like, oh, this is over. Like, it's just a matter of time, and the dam's going to break, and then Alabama's just going to run it down their throat, and the whole fourth quarter is going to be Alabama hanging 3 meaningless touchdowns on them.
Exactly.
You're going to win by 4 touchdowns, and I'm golden. And then it was just
so funny. You know what else is funny too? I'm looking at Texas about to win this game against Bama. You're about to beat Bama week 2. You're the starting quarterback. And you put up a fight. They ended up losing, but they were in the game. It wasn't his fault they lost. He put them in a position to win. You know what I mean? The defense lost it at the end, or the Alabama offense earned it, however you want to look at it. Right. But imagine being him, where you put your team in a position to beat Bama, a team that blows out a lot of teams, even at teams of Texas's caliber, and you still don't have a starting spot next year, regardless what you do. Even if you won that game, you go undefeated. Archie Manning's not coming there to be a backup. So, you still don't have a starting spot, no matter how well you play. You put yourself in a position to beat Bama. You don't have a job.
The kid who was there at the end of the game was actually the backup because Quinn Ewers got hurt. He was
right. I didn't even think about that.
He was the whole second half. I know you.
You're right. I forgot about that.
You were at work the whole day.
No, I did know that. I just didn't think about it. When I was thinking at that point.
He's really in trouble because now the backup came in and held his own against Alabama.
That proves my point even more. You know what I mean? Between both of those quarterbacks, they could have got the job done and won. I don't care if they won by 28 points. They don't have a job next year.
I'm feeling a little more confident about and I was really feeling it when I thought Texas might actually pull that off on Saturday. I still I've been around this block a few times. I was still like, yeah, Saban's gonna somehow find it. And they find a way to not call shit. Like Bryce Young is clearly down in the end zone. and throws a clear intentional grounding, and they call neither of them, and they just give Alabama the ball, and they're like, "Oh, it's 4th down. Go ahead and punt." It's like, no, bro, that's a safety. That's a safety.
Yeah. Right.
And anyway, there's just Saban just has this. All he has to do is he's basically the Bobby Knight of college football, where all he has to do is yell at and intimidate referees enough, and they'll give him whatever he wants. That's why they hardly ever, if you watch, they hardly ever get shit egregious called against them. Like there's never been a game where you watch it and you're like, oh, Alabama got fucked in that game. No, it's always their opponent that got fucked.
That's true.
You've never watched an Alabama game and be like, yo, the refs hosed Alabama. Like, no, never.
Well,
happened.
to play devil's advocate there's a lot less opportunities in Bama games than any other game for them to even get hold by the refs, because most of the time they're up 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You get what I'm saying, though? Like in a close game, there's less opportunities than other teams to judge by.
The games that they win that are close, when they win close games, there's enough of them, and they find a way to win them. And part of the way that they find to win them is like having shit go their way. But anyway, I digress. We don't want to make this a whole like bitch and rant session. They have their thing. But what I was saying is I feel a little bit better about my prediction that I made last year that Saban had already won his last national championship. As good as this team is now, the fact that they escaped with a victory, and even if they had lost, they could still run the table and like impress the football playoff. People are going to put them in regardless, right? And I have a conspiracy theory too about like why they're expanding the playoff system, because it's about to get harder for Saban to make it into the playoffs every year. So they're going to make it bigger so that he's in there every year anyway. I look at it like if they can't go against a team that's undermatched, because Texas had a good recruiting class, but Texas is not. They're not there yet. They're unranked, and they're unranked for a reason. They're not that good yet. So the fact that Alabama had as much trouble with them as they had in week 2 is not promising.
I will say it made me feel a lot better about my Ohio State future also, because if Georgia, that does end up being the matchup, I feel great about it.
And Georgia still looks impressive.
Yep.
Georgia's still, and you still got to go up against Kirby Smart, and now Kirby Smart has slain that dragon. So it's not going to be like this, intimidation thing. So anyway, but
on that note,
to the story at hand, we got it right. We picked the Seahawks to beat the spread, and also we sprinkled a little bit on the money line for them to win outright, and they did. So I couldn't be happier.
Go watch that video. After this, go watch that other video, and so you can really like see the strategy that Chad was putting out there, because we will probably see this again, this situation this season, and we'll make it happen again.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it on the end of that thing and make a new video and upload it later. So absolutely.
There you go. And we'll be back with betting shows as well during the week, so look out for that. Chad, I, Tyler, John, Ryan, and we'll all be jumping on each other's shows and whatnot, and talking some football all week long. So check us out. Check out menoforder.com. Go subscribe there. You'll get Chad's beautiful emails and whatnot too. And go follow us on Twitter, Men of Order Media. And what else you got, Chad? We out?
No, I was just saying, and go check out Phil Foster Fitness, our sponsor as well. And that's it. Yeah, we're out. Appreciate y'all. I got next out of here.